you don't feel like doing it, that's when you need to do it most, because that builds the routine, it builds the character.
What's up, guys? My name is Rob, and this is Rob on the Run podcast, a running podcast for all healthy lifestyles. And today, this is episode 21. I have Rob. Hey, my name is Rob. Rob, how are you doing today, man?
I am great to be Rob on the Run podcast. We got Rob Squared going on.
Yes, for sure. And Rob, he's showing that swag like we were talking before we started recording. He did the Houston Marathon just as I did. He ran it much faster than I did, but I would really want to get into details on that in a little bit. But let's get the easy questions out, Rob. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
So, originally from Silver Spring, Maryland. Shout out to the DMV. And I've been in Dallas, Texas for about the last 7 years now.
Okay.
And I got into running during COVID 2020. Always been in that lifting, trying to stay in shape background, but got out of shape during COVID and always been active in my lifestyle, period. So running's definitely been an avenue and an outlet to continue being active and continue to challenge myself. I live for the challenges and I love pushing myself, and that's what I'm all about.
Awesome. And you know what? You mentioned something very interesting that I actually, here at the house, we were talking about. What does DMV stand for?
DC, Maryland, Virginia. So it's the
Okay.
metropolitan area. If you can get it on the metro in the
Mm-hmm.
DC area, that's the
Mm-hmm.
DMV.
Okay.
For example, Richmond, Virginia, no shade there, but they're not part of the DMV because that's about 4 hours away from the metropolitan area.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned that, and my fiance's son was talking about DMV trying to. They asked me and another friend of ours saying, "What is DMV?" And the first thing we said is driver motor vehicles
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that, you know. And he's like, "No, it has to do something with Virginia or something." I was like, "Dude, I don't know." So you said it. I had to ask. You obviously are more of an expert on that. So hopefully my stepson watches this episode and he will finally find out what DMV stands for. So I appreciate it. And man, so 2020 you started running. So man, it's been what, 5 years barely, four and change, I guess.
Probably closer to four and change. I kicked it off in 2020, but
Yeah.
I did not stick with it. Uh, it was actually a run challenge, a month-long challenge to get to
Hmm.
60 miles.
Okay.
A bunch of non-runners. And I did the math because engineering background, how many miles
Okay.
I have to run every day for X amount of days to be the first one to finish. And that was like 3 to 4 miles a day.
Hmm.
Mind you, I could barely run a mile at the time. So I was going out there in the heat of Texas, like June, every day at like 6 o'clock and just take off 3 miles.
Yeah.
It was a sprint walk, and I did that for like 25 days ish to get to 60 miles, probably 20 to 25 days.
Oh wow.
It was a battle. It wasn't pretty. I got hurt during that time, but my no quit mentality wouldn't let me stop. On the final day, I ended up doing like 8 miles, which was my longest run ever. And like I said, I got so hurt that I could barely walk after that challenge.
Oh
And
wow.
I fell off after that, and then didn't run the rest of 2020. I was like, I, I came in second on the challenge after trying to kill myself. And then
Yeah.
I picked it back up in 2021 through my family and friends who had actually started getting into racing.
Okay. Okay. And what was in 2021, did you just start running just to have fun, or did you sign up for a race? How did it become more of a part of your discipline, part of what you do in your active lifestyle?
So my uncle actually signed us up for a 10K turkey trot, and he's much my senior. And if I'm like, if he can do a turkey trot, I can do a turkey trot too.
Hmm.
Mind you, I barely made it 8 miles, and that was a lot of walking. Same thing. I took off sprinting. I barely made it a mile. Ran, walked the next four and a half. It was pretty ugly. He probably sauntered on, and he beat me by quite a bit. It took me well over an hour to do that 10K, and that was kind of an eye opener that
Hmm.
my cardiovascular fitness was at an all-time low. And
Hmm.
that was no shocker, like I said, lifting background,
Yeah.
but it was definitely an eye-opener. If he can do it, I can do it. And the same thing, my friends, they ran their first half marathon, and I was like, if they can run 13, I can, if I put my mind to it and
Yeah.
actually attempt to train, I can do 13. So then I signed up for a half marathon and ran my first half marathon, and I was like, that's only half the battle. We don't do half measures here. So
Yeah.
then signed up for a marathon from there, and I've been addicted ever since.
Okay, so it's safe to say that the marathon distance is really your bread and butter, or it's the one that you enjoy the most.
I don't. It's definitely a love-hate relationship. I definitely my true goal was actually to become a master in the 5K,
Okay.
and then my like I said, my natural personality, I was just going for the biggest and the baddest, and that was the marathon at the time. I was like, we can't just stop at a half marathon. So I went the marathon just to go for the challenge. Like I said, I love pushing myself, and it's not really some of my favorite races, but I do appreciate the art of executing a good marathon.
Yeah.
But I definitely enjoy a good and hard 5K.
Nice, nice, nice. And I do, if I don't re if I recall correctly, you just PR'd on a 5K in Dallas, right?
Yes, about a few weeks out from Houston,
Mm-hmm.
ran my fastest 5K, 20 minutes, 21 seconds.
Oh wow.
I've been trying to break 20 minutes for the past like year and a half. So we're coming very close, but that 20 minutes, 21 seconds was like a 40-second PR from 21 minutes and like 10 seconds. So I'm definitely headed in the right direction, and 2025, I'm definitely gonna break 20 minutes, and I'm really excited about that. And then yeah, ran the Houston Marathon the following month, and
Yeah.
got another PR.
Nice, nice, nice. And speaking about marathons and whatnot, like you mentioned that you wanted to didn't want to go halfway, so you did that marathon. At any time between all these races that you finally realize, you gotta train and you can't run fast. Like, when was that aha moment, I guess, if you want to call it, where you realize, it's not me just showing up and sprinting and trying to do these things, getting hurt, like you mentioned. When was the moment where you realize, there is more uh, technicalities and stuff that you have to do to be able to get to that point and run a efficient race? When do you think that happened?
I would say during my first marathon training block,
Hmm.
before I even got to the starting line, as the runs got longer and longer, I
Hmm.
realized if I wanted to make it the entire distance, I need to go slower and slower. And that's just like if you want to go far, go slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Hmm.
And being consistent, even if it's just the shuffle, is a lot better than doing the sprint walk method, because you're just going to tire yourself out and it's
Yeah.
going to be slower. So consistency in the run and consistency over time, that compounded. So like I said, if you just have to shuffle your feet, if you want to go 15 miles, you're going to go a
Yeah.
little bit slower than your
Hmm.
13 miles. If you want to go 18 miles, go a little bit slower and you'll go a little bit farther. If you want to go 20
Yeah.
miles, go a little bit slower. So I really started slowing myself down, not necessarily worrying about pace, just focusing on keeping my feet moving and moving forward. And that's been like the mantra and the theme throughout my training: consistency and keep moving forward. You're going to have bad days, but keep moving forward. You're going to have bad runs, but keep moving forward and embrace all of that along the way.
Yeah, man, that's something I wish I would have heard when I started running, because when I started running, I would look at other runners and I would see their times and I would think, be so ignorant about it and say, so and so's running a 19-minute 5K or a hour and 15-minute half, and they run fast, so that means I have to concentrate on running fast all the time, and that led to a lot of injuries. That led to me not liking to run instead of enjoying it. I dreaded to go out and run because I just didn't get faster, obviously because of me with the wrong mentality. And finally, I had my aha moment after a really ugly injury that I made it worse by running my first half marathon with it and lying to my fiance that I was okay. And after that, I stopped running for like 3 months because I got hurt. And then I realized, you really need to start, asking people, how did you get fast? And then the people that would have these amazing, PRs and amazing races with, fast times, first thing they told me, you got to run slow. And still, man, like when they would tell me that, I'm like, how does that even make any sense? You're telling me that I gotta run slow in my training runs to get faster? Like it doesn't make any sense. So,
I,
but finally, I got to the point where I saw my times started getting better and better and better. And it finally hit me. Yes, there is a science to it.
I do want to make one note about just about the word slow because people
Mm-hmm.
start making a negative stigma. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm slow. I don't want to be slow. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to run slow. I think the more accurate description would be easy,
Okay.
and that is relative to us all. What I was told was when you get done with any run, whether it's a 5 mile, 3 mile, 10 mile, it should feel like you didn't really do much.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know that you gave the right amount of effort for that run,
Yeah.
that it is not going to exert a higher load, that you can go back the very next day and do that exact same thing. And then
Yeah.
your body adapts to that stimulus and says, this is our new baseline.
Yeah.
Once you hold that baseline, you can build from there. But
Yeah.
it is definitely built on the foundation of easy running. Like
Yeah.
same thing applies to lifting. You can't go in the gym and do your one rep max every day.
Yeah.
On the third day, it's no longer your one rep max. That is 100% effort, maybe,
Yeah.
but it's probably only 90% of what you could actually do if you were fresh. Same thing
Mhm.
applies to running. So you can't just go out there and try to kill yourself every day because it's going to lead to injuries.
Mhm.
Load management is more important than trying to look good on Strava.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that that was a big issue that I had. I wanted to look good, I wanted to, impress people, and that's where I lost the excitement about running when now it becomes more of a mental anguish because oh my God, this run is not good. I'm not even gonna post it because it's gonna look bad, and I went through all those things and now I finally got it that easy runs, like you said, is exactly actually a really good way to put it because easy runs are supposed to be easy.
Hmm.
So I finally got it, and thanks to that, I actually had a very successful marathon this past Sunday. Something that I had such a hard time. I've done 7 marathons, including the one I did in Sunday, and 6 out of those 7, I always ended up cramping somewhere between mile 24, 21, 22, somewhere around there. You know, and I told myself today's going to be an easy run because I was just coming back from an injury. But my main focus was trying to figure out the right way and doing things the right way so I cannot cramp. And I'm so happy to say that I ran a full race, did not stop at all, maybe to go to the bathroom. Unfortunately, was a mistake for me because I should have gone before the race, but I was too excited to start. But I ran the whole thing cramp free, which is a big victory, a big victory because it was such a hard thing for me to figure out, what do I need to do before, during the race to prevent from me getting, cramps. And it's amazing because I actually had such an easy run where the next day, yeah, it was a little sore, of course, because you're out there for, in my case, I was out there for a little bit over 4 hours, and of course it's gonna hurt. But I was able to walk, I was able to do everything pain free, So I 100% agree with that. If you can find that easy pace and be able to do that the next day and the next day, then that's exactly what how it should be, right? But now that I brought up the marathon, the Houston Marathon, tell us about your marathon. How did it go? How did you feel when you were running? Tell us a little bit about that.
So, Houston Marathon, I'm just going to label it a huge success personally,
Awesome.
for many reasons,
Mm-hmm.
not just because of the 30-minute PR, but because of things that you mentioned. There's so many things wrong that can go wrong during a marathon simply
Yeah.
because you were out there for a very long time. The longer you're out
Mm-hmm.
there, the more that can go wrong. It's just
Yeah.
how variables work. So from the fueling to the pacing to the cramping to the bathroom breaks, all of that I worked that out very well. Even the bathroom breaks, my last long run, I was like, I need to make sure the tank is empty, so to speak. So I did
Yeah.
not have to go to the bathroom, because that's just going to mess up my entire flow. Even if I
Yeah.
don't time aside, like having to physically stop and use the bathroom and then
Yeah.
start my legs up again
Yeah.
messes up my run flow.
Yeah.
Uh, Fueling, I need to get that dialed in so that I'm taking it at the correct intervals to make sure that I don't crash and burn. I've done that on previous marathons. That was not a factor this marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Bathroom breaks, not a factor. Fueling, done well. And then the most thing I'm proud of is the pacing itself. Very even pacing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, every single 5K was within 5 to 10 seconds of each other.
Oh wow.
And I'm very proud of that. Uh, most times, you like after mile 20, it's a crapshoot. You could
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people crash and burn, myself included, and I didn't want that to happen. I
Yeah.
didn't want to have a sexy 18 miles and then the next eight, I mean, I crossed the line. No,
Yeah.
I wanted to give a strong performance and that my last 5K be a little bit faster than my first 5K. And I was able to negative split the race.
Wow.
So I was very proud of that. It showed good strategy and good execution, not
Yeah.
getting too anxious and going out too fast, uh, being comfortable throughout the race. Cramping was not an issue. Stopping was not an issue, which that was an issue on my very first race.
Mm-hmm.
So I really feel like I've learned a lot from my previous races because all of my previous failures were not an issue on this race, from the pacing, cramping, fueling, bathroom breaks, dehydration. None of those were a concern. And that all of that resulted in the 30-minute PR. So my previous PR was 3 hours and 57 minutes, and my major goal was to obliterate that. And that came through lots of training and practicing like it was race day when it came time, so that I knew what it felt like. I knew what that pressure felt like. I knew what to
Yeah.
deal with issues and challenges when they came up real time in the race, that
Mm-hmm.
I would still can't remain comfortable in the face of adversity.
That's awesome, man. That's a massive PR. 30 minutes is crazy. When you get to the marathon, I feel like even if it's like a 2 second or a 2 minute PR is massive, and to hear 30 minutes, that's amazing, and kudos to you, man, because it sounds like you stuck to the plan, stuck to what you needed to do, and you figured out everything that you needed to figure out, even as small as, not going to the bathroom, it's such everything can kind of mess up your flow. So I hear you, and that's like I said, that's where I messed up. I was too excited to start, and I usually do not have a issue with the bathroom breaks. I usually can run, you know, the whole marathon without having to go to the bathroom. But this time, I definitely just I don't know if I forgot or I just was too anxious to start and I just didn't think about going to the bathroom, but it wasn't a major issue. It's just like you said, having to stop and then kind of start again, and then with the cold weather, it's such a hard thing, man,
Yeah.
So yeah, and tell me about that, man. How does this marathon that you did weather-wise, is this the coldest you've ever ran or kind of the same or what?
Coldest race I've ever run, period. Strongest winds I've run in, period. Uh, this is the only race where I lined up and I'm like, I had definitely had doubt in my mind of this was a good idea. I don't think I said this is a good. I know this is a bad idea, but I was like, we're still gonna do it anyway. I was looking around and I was like, we're not backing down, right? We're still doing this. And I say that mainly because how my attire, I was committed to a tank and shorts.
Oh my God.
And I knew it was gonna be cold-ish,
Yeah.
7 days out. But I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna do tank and shorts, like, and then 3 days out, I'm gonna do tank and shorts. And then I heard people changing their outfits, and I'm like, maybe I should wear a long sleeve. And my gear was in Dallas, but my gear was in Dallas, but I was actually in Utah, and I was flying
Okay.
straight to Houston for the race.
Hmm.
So I didn't really have time to change my gear. My gear was what it was, and it arrived Saturday, and I was like, I still got tank and shorts. And I was like, you know what? We're just gonna run faster and harder, and we're not even gonna worry about the wind. I will say my feet did go numb. I could not feel
Hmm.
my feet the first 5 miles. I got goosebumps over my entire body, and I'm thankful I kept my gloves on because I have had frozen hands on a run before.
Yeah.
But ultimately, in training on much shorter runs, anywhere between 6 and 12 miles, I've trained in at worse conditions.
Okay.
So I do not advise this. I've run in snowstorms. I've run in ice storms. I've busted my butt trying to run on ice, and I'll never do that again. Uh, yeah, I've run in. Yeah, most of it was me being hard-headed and not believing in treadmills. And so I ran through all kinds of conditions, and so this was, I guess, more or less another day, but it was different because it was a
Mm.
marathon, and I was like, this could be the longest time in these type of conditions.
Yeah.
And in a training run, I usually dress more comfortably. And a
Hmm.
race day, I was like optimum racing gear. So it was cold, and I did feel the headwind going in, definitely at times. But you just got to dig deep and
Yeah.
keep moving forward, and that's what I did to the best of my ability.
Yeah. And talking about headwind, tell me maybe if I'm wrong, but the only time I felt the wind on my side, meaning that it's hitting me from behind and kind of helping me run, was the final stretch. Right when you turn, the last turn, and you go straight going towards the finish line. And I'm like, where the hell was this? Somewhere
Yeah,
in the marathon. Like, why till the end when my
yeah,
legs are shot, I'm tired, I just want to finish, and I could feel the wind actually pushing me more than
yeah.
what I was running. So maybe it was the same for you because for
No,
me that's the only time.
it was the exact same. That was the maybe the last 400 to 1,000 meters is the only time I felt a tailwind, like an actual tailwind. It felt comical. It felt like Bugs Bunny. I felt like I was being picked up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall over.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, we were talking about it during the run. They were like,
yeah,
when we're coming back towards the city, there should be somewhat of a tailwind.
yeah,
And then we turned back towards the city, and there is no tailwind. There was a crosswind, but there
yeah,
was no tailwind.
yeah.
But in the last 200 or 400, I definitely was dying, and I felt that wind, and I was like, okay, okay, I guess we're going a little bit faster here. We got
Yeah.
the free nitrous.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I wanted to ask because um, I was wondering if maybe, things could change with the wind. It's not always the same. But yeah, I was talking to one other person that was right next to me, and we're like, where was this? And the guy starts laughing. Yeah, like, yeah, uh, God puts us some what do you say? God puts challenges for us, and this is the God saying, you know what? Now I'm gonna give you a little freebie here, you know?
You made it to 26, so I'll carry you to point two.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
pretty much what it was. I also feel
yeah,
like for the elites running the half, if you had that kind of tailwind, they probably wouldn't have given Mance the record
yeah.
uh
Oh
with that
yeah, that's crazy.
with that much of a tailwind, because that
Yeah.
was, like I said, I almost felt like I was flying.
Yeah, I think looking at my paces, I think that was my probably the fastest split for me. I mean, I was running a little bit faster because I knew that was it. That was all
Yeah.
I had to do. So whatever happened, cramping, whatever, I'm giving it my all go because at that point I wanted to finish already. And so once I hit that, I was like, well, okay, well, I guess I got a little help here. That's even better, you know. But it's crazy how cold it was, man. I'm not a cold. I'm summer. I'm the summer kind of guy. I love summer. I love the heat. I love the humidity.
Saying
I
that in Texas is
enjoy it,
wild.
man. You know, I
Oh
love it,
man.
man. I love it. I love running. I love running, training in the summer. Um, and obviously there's a reason for it as well because when you train in the heat and the humidity, fall races will be much easier, you know. So you can go anywhere. Literally, you can go anywhere and be able to run a pretty decent race, even in elevation. You know, I feel like when you run in the humidity, it's just like if you're running, you know, an incline. You know, it's pretty much the same. So for me to run at this weather was I'm not gonna lie to you, low key, I was hoping, oh, it's gonna be canceled, you know, or something like that because it's so damn cold, man.
Oh no, I
So
would have
damn
cried.
cold.
If it was canceled, I would have cried. I could not face. I ran a marathon, but I still ran it. Minnesota Twin City Marathon
Okay.
23. Uh, 6 a.m. I'm caffeinated, walking downstairs. There's like 20,000 runners, and we get a text saying the marathon is canceled.
Oh,
20,000 people canceled because it was too hot. For Minnesota, it was October. It
okay.
was about like, I don't know, 80 degrees and high humidity, which is
Mm-hmm.
very, very abnormal for Minnesota.
Yeah.
And they black flag conditions, which with the dew point and whatnot.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was frustrated and I took off running anyway with no fuel. Didn't know where the course was. They took the course markers down, and I was just running around uh, Minneapolis to St. Paul
Yeah.
and back, just running angry. Turns out you can only run angry for 13 miles. After 13, I'd cooled off, but I
Yeah.
had run 13 miles in one
Yeah.
direction.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, I guess we're doing a marathon. So then I had to turn it right back. And the next 13 were ugly. It was a battlefield.
Yeah.
I stopped at 22 and dragged myself across the pavement to get to 26.2.
Oh my
But
God.
I will say, I I don't know. I would have been really sad to having to face another marathon of this size being canceled at the last second. And like I said, I've trained in running crazy conditions. If they canceled this, I still would have ran. That's just what I'm saying. If it was 5 degrees, snowing,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been pretty.
Yeah.
A PR would have been off the table, but
Yeah.
I would have ran.
You're like, I trained for this damn thing. I'm
Oh yeah,
gonna do this damn thing, huh?
26.2 miles is going to get run one way or another.
Yeah. No, and it's just me in the cold, but after I started, it took me about maybe about 5 miles to finally feel comfortable, you know. And what you were saying about your feet, my quads, man, my quads were frozen and numb for like half of the race, you know. But once I started, I told myself, you are the only way you're gonna stop this from running is if you literally just fall and die right now, because no other reason I will stop. And you know, and I felt really good, and I guess that's the reason why after a while it was more of just completing the race because everything just started clicking, everything started feeling well, you know, and like I mentioned to you earlier, I did not get any cramps. So now we can go to, I learned this lesson. Now let's start learning how to be able to run a much efficient but faster race, you know. But I couldn't go from one thing and then jump to another. At least that's how I see it, without trying to figure out the fueling part. Because without the fueling, then you can't run. You know, you can't run faster. You can't start looking for PRs or stuff like that. You know, so definitely now my next race I will train to try to get a PR, which would be my fastest race was in New York at 4 hours and 37 minutes. So I really think if I can train well and I can do everything that I did this race, I really think I could do it in 4 minutes, 4 hours, 30 minutes, and then continue to, you know, work on the time, you know. But yeah, cold weather is crazy, man. It's definitely not for me, but you know, when things click, it is for me, I guess, you know. But going back to your discipline and what you do, with training and whatnot, what does this discipline mean to you, and how has it shaped your running journey since you started running?
So it's been my Instagram handle is driven by discipline,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a philosophy of mine before I even got into to running. And it simply means when you least want to do something, you're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's driven by the ambition of your goals, uh, doing what you're supposed to do, even when you don't want to do it. When it's cold, it's wet, the conditions are bad, you're still going to go through your routine. You're going to execute your workouts,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, you're going to hit the lifts you want to hit day in, day out, because life is not ideal,
Yeah.
and you're going to get hit thrown with curveballs. So what are you going to do when you get hit with curveballs? Are you just going to give up? Because your goals are not going to be accomplished simply because you couldn't adapt to these unideal circumstances.
Yeah.
And when you don't feel like doing it, that's when you need to do it most, because that builds the routine, it builds the character, and it builds that discipline and confidence that you can do hard things.
Yeah.
And once you do the things, even if it doesn't look pretty, because it
Mm-hmm.
rarely is, it builds the confidence that you can do it, and you'll do it again when it's on a great day. You can do it on a bad day, you can do it on a good day, and every day in between. That builds the consistency, and that builds that determination that nothing is going to stop you. Like I said, I trained in all kinds of conditions
Yeah.
and for running, and I've trained in all kinds of conditions for lifting, and I carry that into a lot of aspects of my life. Doing the things you say you're going to do, no matter what, and that's what being disciplined means to me. When ish hits the fan,
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to show up
Yeah.
every day, no matter what it looks like? How are you going to show up?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well said, man. And I agree with that 100%. I feel like in my case, or the way I see it, I guess, is, personally, I like to put myself in hard situations, because for me, putting a high goal or running a marathon, when I decided to do that myself, I knew it was a very hard thing for me to do, but I wanted to do the things that are hard, the things that make me feel uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. And some people, when they feel that being uncomfortable, they kind of shy away from it. And I've always been that type of person that the more uncomfortable I feel, the more I want it to succeed. You know, so yeah, I hear you 100%, man. And talking about the setbacks and stuff like that you have to deal with sometimes. Have you ever faced any setbacks or significant setbacks in your running journey, and how did you overcome them?
I would say some of my biggest setbacks have been injuries, various injuries, tendonitis in multiple places in my body, uh, knee, Achilles, plantar fasciitis, and I would say personal conflicts as well have been some challenges I
Yeah.
faced. But I would say that the injuries have really taught me. I mean, if anything, distance running, you have to be patient,
Hmm.
and I am not always the most patient person. I'm definitely let's keep moving by any means necessary. And sometimes you keep moving too much, too fast. You're going to get sidelined
Yeah.
permanently, whether you want to. And that's what those injuries were. Those injuries were my body saying, if you don't stop, I'm going to put you down.
Yeah.
And I got put down several times by like I said, tendonitis. When I was very young, I broke my arm. I couldn't do a push up for years. I could
Oh,
barely lift
wow.
my arm. And
And now, a word from our sponsors.
like I said, being sidelined taught me to appreciate being able to move when you can, and taking your time and learning the craft and doing it the right way,
Yeah.
the first time.
Yeah.
Because like I said, if you don't do things right the first time, you're going to get sidelined.
Yeah.
And I did most thing I hate was being away from the game. And every time, you get FOMO watching your friends being out there on the track hitting workouts, and I can't
Yeah.
because of my ankle or my knee. So
Yeah.
it taught me to be patient. It taught me to respect the training, respect the distance, respect load management. And if you want to have longevity in this game,
Yeah.
be patient and do it right the first time.
That's awesome. And definitely I had tendonitis, and that's, remember I was telling you that I ran a half marathon. I had tendonitis and I should have not ran it, but um FOMO was one of the reasons. And that made me realize that something that I feel like most runners, not all, um, are hard to understand, to listen to your body. So many people say it, and it's so easy to say it, but as a runner, I feel, um, in a personal side, it's so hard to do that, because one, you train for X amount of time for something, and then some setbacks, within your training. And then you're like, man, I really want to run. I don't care if I'm hurt. I'm running it when maybe should have been, you know what? Let's sit this one out and heal, right? And it took me again a long time to do that too, to learn what listen to your body really means, So yeah, setbacks are part of the sport, part of life, not only just in running, but in life. And I'm 100% with what you said. I'm very impatient myself. I want to have go from A to Z without going through the other letters, you know and that has I taught myself to be more patient, be more graceful, be more patient with the process. And it's been going better now. Maybe 2 3 years ago I would have probably quit running because I didn't trust the process, in a way, and I think having a coach myself helped me with that, because before I was kind of self-trained. And you know I didn't really do a good job in training myself. So when I decided to run a marathon, I said, you know what, I think it's time to get a running coach, because um, I that's just a big beast for me, and I don't know how to train, what to do, when to run, when to do speed workouts, when to do all these things. And since I got a running coach, that he has held me accountable to my runs. He has told me when I'm doing bad, when I overdid it, hey, you should have not ran this fast. Try to stay at your paces, and whatnot. So it's definitely been an eye opener now for me, and I see the results little by little, not in big amounts, but little by little I've been able to see that. And now I learned that, that small little victory, although it's not as big as I want it, it's a victory, So that's awesome. And that you learn from your injuries, because again, I wish I'd learned from my injuries. I think I would not be all banged up as I am now. But I'm getting better now. I'm getting older and getting wiser, so definitely. But talking about your marathon and how you trained and everything worked out for your marathon this time, what does a typical training week look like for you?
So typically running 4 to 6 times per week, depending on where I'm at in the training
Hmm.
block.
Hmm.
Definitely on the four side when you're in the starting of the block, and then leaning on that 5 to 6 times a week towards the peak week and going into towards the end. So it's a natural progression.
Okay.
Like I said before, lifting background, so
Hmm.
I love to be in the gym, and I try to keep maintain that as much as possible. So that's 2 to 3 times a week. Same
Okay.
thing happens with the beginning versus the end of the training block. So beginning, I can do about 3 times a week. And then as I build and build, increase the running, the gym will start to go back to like 2 times a week. And then I think on race week, I learned my lesson and did no gym that week. I think I did a heavy lift my very first marathon,
Yeah.
like on Monday, and I'm like, I'll totally recover by Sunday. And I was still sore by Thursday, and I was like, oh my gosh, I set myself up for failure.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so it's 4 to 6 times a week for running, depending on where I'm at in the block. 2 to 3 times of lifting per week, depending on where I'm at in the block,
Mm-hmm.
and then one speed session, and then one long run, which alternates between an easy long run and a pace-based long run. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like 1 to 2 quality sessions per week for
Okay.
running. And then the lifting, just to be time efficient, I'll do like full body when I'm in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of calisthenics and body weight movement, trying to make sure I'm coordinated and balanced, because I know that's very important as a runner.
Yeah.
Keeping that stability and mobility. Another thing that I am lacking is that mobility. Lots of lifting has gotten me not as flexible as I would like to be.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's a weakness of mine, that's what I try to focus on the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So leg strength was a weakness, and I do it all the time now that I'm very much more comfortable with it. Uh, and mobility, which I'm still working on to this day.
Yeah. One thing that I also lack on is mobility and flexibility, especially. And I've picked up a lot of yoga and stuff like that just because uh, it's helped me with the stretching and stuff like that, which is a really bad thing for me. And I'm still working on it, but I'm working on it. Being able to stretch properly before and after a run or a hard run. And, you know, I do yoga now, and I feel like even though I don't stretch properly after these runs, the yoga kind of helps me still get that stretch in, you know. So I'm not sure if you're doing it, but I highly recommend it. It's really good, and it really helps you, you know, build that you know, be more limber and be able to be more flexible, you know. And it's helped me out a lot. I started doing it from the second to last marathon, and I've seen me getting better, you know, in stretching and stuff like that. But lifting is something that I also incorporated maybe 3 or 2 marathons ago, because I was in the mindset that you don't need to work out, you don't need to, you know, lift, just run and that's it. You're good. And ever since I incorporated, you know, working out, uh, man, it's night
Oh
and
yeah,
day, and you actually don't get hurt as much. You know,
yeah.
it's crazy.
When I focused more on lower body,
Hmm.
I used to sprint years ago, so I used to do a lot of lower body work. But now focusing on that distance running, focusing on lower body, I just feel so much stronger. Like every step, there's literally so much more power behind it.
Yeah,
And then, like you said, the whole mobility. Do a YouTube mobility session or Instagram one and just follow along.
yeah,
And that's literally the difference between me being sore and not. If I do a little cool down after a long run or intense run, 5 to 10 minutes is the difference between me feeling good afterwards and me being a little stiff later
hmm,
on. So, uh, having that appreciation for taking the time to do it right the first time
yeah.
can save you and make you uh, have more longevity in the sport. And that's definitely what I'm looking forward to. So I am all about pushing myself and saying what I am capable of.
Yeah,
That's who I am. But one of the ultimate goals of mine is to be doing this for the next 30 years.
that's
So
awesome.
marathon at 60, backflip at 60, and skiing. So those three things I want to be doing at the age of 60, and that's what I'm going to be working towards.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And hopefully I'll be able to see that. So hopefully, you know, I want to see that backflip for sure.
I can do it. Well, send a video of me. I can do it now, but
Okay, okay.
and yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
the goal is longevity and
Yeah.
activity.
Yeah, yeah. And that's awesome because you know, I tell my fiance I want to be here, and I tell my daughter too. She's 18, so I tell my daughter all the time, I want to be here for the longest time to be able to see all your victories and all your success. And the only way I can do that is by staying healthy, staying active, and doing all these things. So I think that's also where, like, when I was mentioned to you, the aha moment. When was your aha moment? I think that was my aha moment as well. When I realized, my daughter's getting bigger. She's going to college. She's doing all these amazing things. I want to be there for her. And how can I be there if I keep on getting hurt, if I keep on not eating well? Just because you run doesn't mean you can get to eat every single thing in the pantry, you know?
Yeah.
And all that has been a big aha moment for me because now I'm eating much better. I'm eating healthier. I'm eating at home more often, you know, s- less processed food, working out, 6 times a week, whether if it's weightlifting, running, yoga, bicycle, something, but always staying active and helping me stay here for the longest that I can. So my goal, your goal is to do backflips. My goal is to be as old as I can be, and be able to be self-sufficient, to where I can still walk and do these things when I'm 70, 80, 90, hell, maybe be able to run a marathon and finally qualify for Boston when I'm 80,
Oh
it could
yeah.
happen. It could
That's
happen.
always everyone's secondary goal is like if we don't get it now, we're
Yeah.
going to age up.
Yeah.
And eventually the age and the times are going to converge.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't necessarily need to get faster. You just need to maintain
Mm-hmm.
for the next 30 years and boom,
Yeah.
BQ.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, man. And speaking about Boston qualified, how close have you been to qualifying, or did you already qualify?
I have not qualified. I've got still got a ways to go. So
Okay.
this 327 is the closest the closest I've come to qualifying. My current BQ time would be a 2:55. So we've got about another 33 minutes to shave just to apply.
Yeah.
And then there's the cutoff time. So I'm just gonna subtract another 5 from there. So we're looking at another 37 minutes to
I
shave
think you
off.
got it. You're gonna definitely get it. You're gonna definitely if you shave 30 minutes in this last marathon, you will get there for
Yeah.
sure. And I see you all the time on Instagram, and I was introduced by Hillary, running that Hillary, which I'm pretty sure you know as well. And then I just enjoyed watching everything that you post on Instagram and how motivating you are. So, knowing your discipline and what you do, I'm pretty sure you'll get there, and hopefully very soon. But it's a process, so we got to remember that it's a process and it'll take a little bit of time.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I've had that trying to have that patience with myself that it is going to take time. And even if it takes a long time, it's
Yeah.
probably not going to happen when I want it to happen because that's how life works. Things do not come when we want them to. It's like trying to watch a microwave. It only takes longer. But like going back to the whole discipline thing, showing up every day when I don't have the motivation, that's that's the discipline. That it's
Hmm.
doing the actions that are going to get me to my goals, regardless of what happens. That's the discipline. And having the confidence and determination, it all is the foundation to get me where I want to be. And that mindset, like I said, is more powerful than anything on this earth. If you believe in yourself, that's half the battle.
Yeah, yeah, you're 100% right. If no one else is going to believe in you, if you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect people to help you with that. That's something that comes internal. At least that's how I feel. You got to believe in yourself to be able to hit those goals. If you think negative and say, you know what? I know I can't do it, then it won't happen. You gotta put those big goals out there and work on them. And I 100% agree with you, and that's awesome because um, I wish more people would think like that. And unfortunately, I feel like it's easier to quit
Hmm.
and actually, go through the motions. And I think that's what runners and in general, people that are very athletic or put their healthy lifestyle first have a difference between somebody that's does not, that they understand what it's going to take to get to that point, and it's a challenge, and it's a challenge accepted, and we work our butt off to get there regardless of the time and how long it takes. So kudos to you again. And it kind of goes with what we were talking about, like the mental toughness and discipline and whatnot. What role does mental toughness play in your running, and how do you train your mindset for like big races like the one we just had?
So it all comes, like I said, it starts with the belief uh, that you can do it.
Hmm.
All right, before I ran this race, I
Hmm.
literally told myself I can run a 3:30 marathon. I haven't done it yet, but I can do it. I
Yeah.
just haven't actually run it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But literally just telling myself that I can do it, I just got to go do it
Hmm.
for 26. Like I'm physically capable of doing it, energizes me. Uh, Letting myself know that there are no limits besides the ones that I place on myself.
Yeah.
I thought I was still stuck in the 350s or 340s, and that was a mental barrier for me. And it was that mindset shift of forget it. Your workouts say you're in better shape. I don't
Yeah.
care what the hell you're telling yourself. The data says you can go faster. You just have to go faster. Because I always place these limitations on myself. You can lift this much or you can run this fast. And then I would lift exactly that much. If I
Yeah.
could lift if I say I can lift 290, I'm gonna lift freaking 290. Not 291, I'm gonna lift 290. And if I try to get 291, I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
And that's usually what happens. Same thing with running. I'd say I can run a 21 minute 5K, and I ran a 21-minute 5K on the nose, not a second faster because I that's what I believed I could do.
Yeah.
So removing those limiters, those self limiters, those doubting thoughts that
Hmm.
creep in is really how I open the aperture of the things that I am capable of. I'll tell you right now, I haven't done it yet, but I am capable of running a 250 marathon.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet, but I'm capable of doing it. And that opens the floodgates of the possibilities that if I continue training, if I continue working, I am capable of greatness.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but I'm going after it.
Hmm.
Every day I'm showing up, every day I'm doing these activities. These are going to get me a step closer to my goals. You haven't done it yet, but you will do it. You just have to get through it. So every day, putting in the work. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be monotonous. That's when you need discipline. Motivation is going to wane. It's going to be boring. It's not sexy. You got to keep going. Uh, Telling myself these things is having this internal and out uh, actual verbal monologue. Endless possibilities, limitless. I
Yeah.
was literally telling myself during this race, I am limitless. From an engineering background, the limit does not exist.
Yeah.
All right, you try to find it. It's only the ones that you place on yourself.
Yeah.
And I think about the people who are not able to be active. And I do not want to take being active for granted. So I move my body through space and time for those who cannot. And I want to excel for those who are not able to.
Yeah.
And I do it for my loved ones and to show myself that I'm capable of so much more. All of these things allow me to unlock new levels. That mentality will get me through any tough times when I'm running through sleet, snow, wind, heat, uh, you know, through the pain and
Yeah.
discomfort. All of these mantras can take me places.
That's awesome, and funny that you say that, because this last marathon, I really concentrated on my mantras and you know telling myself, you got this, you were made for this, you were made to do hard things, and do it for the people that can't do it. Do it for the people that you care for the most. Do it for your brother. Unfortunately, my brother has had some health issues that has sidelined him pretty much. And I do these things, and I remember why it's important to be out here running and doing these crazy things, and I kept on telling me that you got this, um, and it really does help. I never realized how much these things that you're telling yourself, how much power they have over you, and I can honestly say this one marathon that I did 3 days ago, I finally said, you know what, I'm gonna do that and see if what does it do, how does it help. And man, it every time I would tell myself, especially when I would tell myself, you were made to do hard things. You know, you can do this and more. This is not gonna stop. This is not the end. You can do more than this. You got this and whatnot. And man, it really, when I would say that, I would usually say it right when, I was feeling maybe a little fatigue, or I'm starting to feel a little pain here or pain there. And then, or maybe that voice behind your head saying, stop, there's nothing else you need to prove, just walk, or something like that. Then that's when I would say it. And that really made a big difference, I feel. And, it's just that positive affirmation, that you have to tell yourself sometimes to get that bad side of your brain to convince you to do exactly what it wants you to do. So that's very, very awesome that you do that as well, because it helped me, and literally is the first time I've ever done it. So that's awesome, and kind of it kind of like reaffirms what I thought would do, but now that I put it to play, it did. So that's pretty cool. And we're almost here at the end of the podcast, Rob. I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm pretty sure you got a long run or a hard workout tomorrow or something. So I don't want to be the reason why you don't show up or something. But we do have a tradition here, but we have episode 20. They have a question for you, and we'll allow her. It was Sarah. We'll allow her to ask you the question, and then you'll come back over here and have a stab at it. Okay.
Okay.
All righty.
What is your favorite thing to eat after any race and why?
So I would say my favorite post-race meal is a bacon cheeseburger.
Wow.
Love me nice, thick, double stack smoked bacon, a little bit of onions and fries. It's just something about a comfort food with a massive burger in my hands. It's very, very satisfying with the side of ginger ale to
Okay.
ease my stomach because my stomach is usually tore up
Yeah.
after a race, whether it's a 5K or a marathon. My stomach is doing backflips. So I
And
love a good burger, then ginger ale to ease my stomach.
and burger, what is your go-to burger place, or do you cook it at home, or what it would be the ideal burger when you have a chance to do that?
So if I'm on the road, I just Google the nicest burger spot near the race, and that's
Okay.
it was Rodeo Goat for Houston Marathon.
Me
That
too. I ate there. Yeah. Yeah.
it was pretty good. I got the bacon burger there, whiskey burger it was called.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance Arissa makes the best burger I've had in my life, and I'm not just saying that because she's my fiance. I'm saying it because it's true. She makes special sauce, makes the onions and the bacon just how I like it, toast the buns. Man, it is restaurant above restaurant quality. So every time if I could have her make the burger after a race,
Yeah.
then that's what I'll eat. If I'm on the road though, I'll just look up the nicest spot to get a burger.
So wink at me if I'm right. you were looking to your what would be your right. Was she giving you the mean eye to make sure that you said that? Just wink. You don't have to say anything, just wink.
She's actually no longer here, so she can't hear me anymore.
Okay, okay.
She left for a little bit, but
Okay, okay, okay. You were looking over there. I was like, oh, maybe, she's looking and making sure that, you give a good compliment or something.
no, she was standing over there earlier, so that's why I kept looking over there. But
Okay, okay.
she went away for a little bit.
I was like, okay, we can always delete this part from the podcast. It's okay.
No, she really does make an amazing burger.
That's awesome. If I ever go to Dallas, which I do want to run the Dallas half, the BMW one, she's gonna have to make me one. So you're gonna have
All
to
right,
add a +1 to the burger invite over there, man.
I definitely recommend the half for Dallas. The
Okay.
full that one's the breaker of men and taker of souls. Uh,
I've heard. Yeah, yeah.
the half's a good time though.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And you know, uh, tradition as well. So episode 22. Do you have a question for our episode 22 guest?
Yes, my question for the episode 22 guest is when times are tough, what is your favorite mantra to say to yourself to keep yourself going?
Awesome. That's awesome. That's a good one. That's a good one. And you don't have to answer that one because you already kind of did earlier today on this podcast. Sorry. And any races, anything coming up for you when it comes, in the future over here?
So I've got a 5K in about 10 days or so. I do not think it's going to be the magic one where I get sub 20. It'll probably be the 5K after that. But I've
Okay.
got a 10K in Fort Worth, sometime in February. Cowtown, Fort Worth,
Okay.
10K. That's a good size race as well.
Mm-hmm.
Looking to get a 10K PR, even though the course can be challenging and it could be adverse weather, we're still going to send it, and we're to go as fast as we can. And I'm confident I'm gonna come away with a 10K PR. Like I said, my goal is to get faster and faster in the 5K. So this year I'll try to get faster and faster through more 5K races this year, and then we'll do a bodybuilding show hopefully later this year,
Nice.
first one. But also back to the question, just because we'll get free game here. Another mantra of mine is
Mm-hmm.
that when things are tough, is that tough times don't last, but tough people do. And that is something that I'll tell myself when it hurts. And that's when you got to work the most, is only when it hurts can you actually work. And the tough times are temporary. And
Yeah.
if you can fight through this tough time, you will be that much more of a badass when it comes time to coast. So when you're fighting up that incline,
Yeah.
that's only temporary.
Yep.
And when you crest that hill, even if you were given that same effort, even if it wasn't matter if it was fast or not, when you crest that hill, you are flying on the downhill, and that's just
Mm-hmm.
perfect metaphor for to keep yourself going.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it just occurred to me to ask you this question. Um, when you get to the halfway mark in the marathon, Houston Marathon, did you ever get scared of that little uphill?
Oh no, I honestly would have moonwalked it if it wouldn't have seemed disrespectful to other runners. Uh,
I'm only saying it because I know Dallas is pretty hilly. So,
yeah. Um,
us the flatlanders over here in Houston, that is like, whoa, hey, what's going on here?
oh no, I literally trained on some hilly parts of Dallas, and I purposely found the hill. I made the hills at 13 miles and 14
Okay.
miles, even 15 miles, just to mentally and physically prepare for that. So when we
Hmm.
got to that, I was like, that was it. Can we go faster? Uh, if anything, I will say the rollers between 24 and 25, I felt those way more than
Yeah,
the hill back at 13. And
yeah.
that just goes to the location of the hill on the race. It goes to show.
It's funny because like I mentioned too, I've done 7 marathons and almost all of them, except for maybe New York, they always put some sort of elevation at the end. Like,
Yeah.
man, do you want to like, come on, man. I've already ran 25, 26 miles and you want me to go uphill. Come on. Come on. Give me a break, man. But yeah, it's funny that you say that. That's in Allen Parkway. And those two little rollers, they don't look very significant.
Yeah,
But
they're
once
not
you're,
that big.
they're not big, but when you're already a mile, what, that's about 24, 25. It's a game changer to your legs. You know,
Yeah,
if they were to put those at the beginning, nothing, man.
exactly.
You know, but they put up at the end to see, you know, they just want us to have a hard time a little bit, you know. So it's crazy, man. Rob, I really, really appreciate you being here today with us. Do you have any well, go ahead and give us your socials, how we can find you on the social media and whatnot.
So as I mentioned earlier, my Instagram handle is driven by underscore discipline. So yeah, that's how you
Mhm.
find me on Instagram. My name on Strava is just Rob, which may be a little bit more difficult to find me. But if you find me on Instagram, just DM me and we can connect on Strava.
Sweet, 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 sweet. And I really appreciate you again being here. And you're always a welcome guest to this podcast at any time. We definitely want to check up on you on your races, on your lifting and whatnot. And hopefully you break that PR on your 5K for sure. But
Thank you very much, and I wish you the best, and I hope we stay in contact. And
for
I'm wishing you the
sure,
best in 2025 as well.
for sure, for sure. But and can't wait for that BQ, man. Let us know for sure.
Oh yeah, you're never gonna hear the end of it.
All righty, Rob. You have yourself a good night, and thank you very much again, man.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Good night.